Story 1. How to set boundaries without feeling guilty. It saves your time, energy, and sanity more than anything else. Story 2. Based on the odors I encounter at work, I believe everyone should learn how to bathe and brush their teeth properly. Story 3. Where is the main shutoff valve for the water supply in your home? This will come up at some point, and you must act quickly. Story 4. There are many valid answers to this, but I wish everyone would learn healthy coping mechanisms. It would help you adapt better to adversity and find ways to improve your life, even if just a little. Story 5. People talk about the 30s the way they used to discuss the 20s. Most of the things mentioned here should be learned long before turning 30. Story 6. Critical thinking. The world would be a much better place if people learned to assess information critically instead of emotionally. Story 7. How to drive. Coming from someone who finally passed the driving test at 36, even if you do not have a car, the ability to drive should be something everyone learns for emergencies. How to swim. How to budget properly and live and eat cheaply should the need arise. Story 8. Here is a list. Changing a tire. Changing oil. Basic math skills for budgeting and taxes. Media literacy and fact-finding. Persuading others without dominating. Cooking simple meals. Basic home and car repair. Active listening for understanding. Swimming. Sewing. Basic survival skills. Tying knots. Making a fire. Staying warm. And first aid. Driving a manual transmission vehicle. Basic navigation without a global positioning system. Story 9. How to be emotionally intelligent. Honestly, this is something we should be capable of before our 20s, but there are surprisingly many people over 50 who couldn't be further from it. Story 10. Basic financial literacy is essential for understanding how to invest outside of a 401k plan. It takes about 1 to 2 hours to learn the basics of investing. Many adults struggle with managing their finances, often not knowing how to invest their money or budget effectively. This lack of knowledge can lead to difficulties in saving from their paychecks. Additionally, some individuals frequently withdraw money from their 401k accounts and make poor financial decisions. Story 11. All of these are really good, but as I cross into my late 40s, I can't help but reflect on how much we missed the mark on emotional regulation. Some things I didn't even consider took me until my mid-30s to become aware of, and the past year has highlighted the need for active change. 1. How I feel is my business, and it is up to me to manage. This does not excuse people being needlessly abusive or cruel, but I do have the power and control to not let hurtful comments affect me. Brain chemistry and why we function the way we do is alarming. The feelings associated with falling in love, dopamine, cortisol, and butterflies are primal mechanisms that increase our chances of survival. Older humans often died if left alone. This is why, if you are the one who has been broken up with, it doesn't matter how toxic, abusive, boring, or annoying your partner was. They quickly become a symbol of happiness, and your brain deceives you into thinking about how amazing they were, all based on survival instincts. Feelings are temporary experiences shaped by our unique perspectives, judgments, traumas, experiences, and individual sensations. This morning, I ordered a breakfast meal and suddenly felt overwhelmed with emotion. Realizing the last time I ordered it was on the first day I moved into my new home with a manipulative person, who fortunately stayed only a month before having a paranoid break and hitchhiking back to Florida. I felt deep peace and relief once he left, but here I am, trapped in a nostalgia bubble, remembering when we laid in the empty house together as I caressed his hair while waiting for the movers. All of that is part of me. The meal is the same one millions of people enjoy. I just attributed it to a pleasant memory, and now I have to deal with the nostalgia. True happiness, peace, and satisfaction in life involve recognizing the difference between a stimulus and a response. It took time to discover this, and you almost have to give yourself examples. Find things that unbalance you. Joy, anger, jealousy, hurt, or depression, and explore those feelings. You'll start to realize there is a deeper balanced sense of self, and the feelings swirl above it. The more you can live in that separation, the more you understand that nobody can manipulate or hurt you. You see the feelings and decide how to respond. It's truly incredible. While there are exceptions, I believe many people who married their high school sweethearts or first college loves are living stunted lives. We are sold the idea of true love and the one because our brains use that narrative to enhance our survival. I'm so grateful I didn't marry my first boyfriend after college and ended things with him at 27. I would have missed out on so many incredible experiences, opportunities, life events, joy, pain, and growth. In 2016, my boyfriend of 5 years broke up with me because he fell in love with someone else, and that was one of the most painful and cruel experiences I've ever faced. For a year, I wanted us to get back together, but eventually, I moved on. This led me to meet and fall in love with someone else. In early 2019, I found journals from late 2017 and started to laugh, thinking, oh my God, I used to actually feel this? Thank God it never happened. Emotional maturity, regulation, management, and relationships with our emotions are significant deficits in us. Story 12. How to care for your clothes and shoes, including proper laundering techniques, sewing buttons, and polishing shoes, so that they last and you do not waste money by discarding items that could be easily and affordably repaired. Story 13. Learn a musical instrument. It brings rare joy, can evoke sadness, and often inspires reflection on life's mysteries. Above all, it typically elicits strong emotions. Story 14. Responsibility with money. You don't need to know how to invest or create a complex budget. As long as you pay your bills and save some money before making additional purchases, you'll be fine. While investing can be beneficial, mastering the basics will take you far. Story 15. 1. Know how to use fire extinguishers and the different types. Take first aid classes to learn cardiopulmonary resuscitation and automated external defibrillator techniques, as well as how to stop bleeding. Take firearm safety and self-defense classes. Emergency response time is usually measured in minutes when seconds count. It's beneficial to know all 3 skills and be your own first responder. Story 16. How to drive doesn't mean you have to drive every day or even when you don't want to, but just knowing how to is pivotal. I live in a major city and understand not needing to. Story 17. How to be alive. No, genuinely, if you don't know how to truly live by the age of 30, you might miss many great opportunities. I suppose I am foreshadowing my future since I am not living, just existing. Story 18. How to manage money does not depend on whether someone makes $10 an hour or $100 an hour. Being broke is still being broke, and poorly managed finances lead to a negative balance. Story 19. Vehicle maintenance is essential. While this does not cover changing a transmission or major electrical components, taking care of brakes and oil changes is a must. Do not waste money on simple fixes. Story 20. Learning how to cook is important. It is also essential to know how to calm yourself down in moments of anger, especially when you are with a partner, family, co-workers, or others. Story 21. How to handle taxes if you didn't move out and need to learn earlier, even if it's just using tax software. And yes, cooking. Story 22. Live your life, have fun, and don't take work and everything too seriously. Have fun and do what you want every day. Story 23. How to fill your fluids, change filters, properly tighten lug nuts, inflate tires, and change oil. Story 24. How to cook properly, how to budget, how to take care of yourself. Fitness, healthy eating, hygiene, dressing well. It's rare for anyone to have all 3, unfortunately. Story 25. Cooking, including budgeting, shopping, freezing, and menu planning, can save you hundreds of dollars each month. Story 26. How to listen. We take years of speech and language classes, but nobody ever mentioned active or empathetic listening. I believe it could change the world. Instead, everyone just waits to respond. Story 27. Household care, from maintenance to budgeting, is essential for everyone to learn. You never know whether you will live alone or with someone irresponsible. Story 28. Finances and how money works. I wasted a significant amount of money when I was younger. It was fun, though. Story 29. I will choose something less conventional and say operate a power drill. It is easy to learn and comes in handy more often than you might think. Story 30. How to care for your clothes. Learn how to remove stains, iron, line dry fabrics, hem, and attach a button by hand. Familiarity with washer and dryer settings is also important. I once asked a large group of adults if they knew how to sew a button on, and nearly half said they would just discard the shirt and buy a new one. Story 31. Cook basic meals, sew, and budget. However, the most important skill is delayed gratification and self-discipline. If you don't have that by the age of 18, aside from joining the military, you may not develop it. Good luck with life. Story 32. How to invest with index funds. Keep it simple and automate contributions with each paycheck. Story 33. How to be the fun person at a party every now and then. This can boost your networking and career opportunities at the right events. Story 34. How to file your own taxes. How to create a proper resume. A friend mentioned they were applying for jobs without submitting a resume and couldn't understand why they were being rejected every time. How to use a computer. It's 2025, not 1980, so the excuse, "I'm not good with computers," is no longer acceptable. If you can operate your smartphone or tablet, you can use a computer. How to perform basic maintenance on your vehicles, such as an oil change. Understand how credit, loans, and credit cards work. It is essential to learn financial literacy. Story 35. How to spot a scam and identity protection. Many people, including young individuals, have not been taught about scams and technology literacy, leading to unfortunate situations that one would expect an elderly person unfamiliar with modern technology to experience. Story 36. Although I've never done it, change your own oil in a car. Also, drive a manual transmission car. Again, it is another skill I don't know how to do. Story 37. How to interact with people without being a nervous wreck. A Reddit thread recently asked why people sit in their cars for so long when someone is waiting for a parking spot. Many replies express sentiments like, "I will wait as long as it takes for you to give up and leave, because I don't want that kind of pressure making me anxious." Story 38. I am in my 30s and terrified of driving. While being chauffeured makes me feel ashamed, the anxiety of being behind the wheel is even greater. Story 39. How to say no without feeling guilty will save you time, energy, and sanity more than anything else. Story 40. I believe everyone should have some experience caring for children and babies. It is surprising that some individuals may have little to no experience with small children or babies since they were once one themselves, yet they are expected to know what to do when they become parents. I wish I had gained some experience before having my first child. Story 41. How to negotiate the price of items. Some situations may not lead to success, but one will not know unless they make an attempt. Many people do not make an effort and end up paying whatever is demanded. Learn to negotiate calmly and without emotion. Story 42. How to spot when people are lying and trying to scam you out of money. You need to be aware of scams in online games like RuneScape. Story 43. How to do their own laundry. I had to teach the 19-year-old heir to the Hormel fortune how to use a washer and dryer because his maid had done his laundry for him his entire life. It was pathetic. Story 44. Be able to perform light maintenance on every system in your house, including plumbing, electrical systems, and the boiler. Story 45. There are many important skills someone should know by the age of 30. Most of these are practical skills that were once taught in schools but are often overlooked now. Knowing how to use a needle and thread effectively is essential. This skill allows you to fix and repair your clothes, mend holes in socks, and patch up damaged clothing. The quality of clothing on the market today often requires repairs shortly after purchase due to poor stitching. Without the ability to fix these issues, many people become frustrated and discard their garments. At the very least, knowing how to change a tire properly is crucial. Learning basic car maintenance is beneficial as well. You should be able to check your fluid levels, know where to add different fluids, and recognize signs that indicate your car may have a problem. This is especially important for women, as some repair shops may take advantage of a lack of knowledge. Everyone should also possess basic home repair skills, such as fixing holes in walls, repairing furniture, and using caulk correctly. Maintaining your home and belongings is more important than many realize. A small repair today can prevent much larger expenses in the future when a minor issue escalates into a significant problem. As I mentioned earlier, schools used to offer elective classes where students could learn these skills, but that is no longer the case. There are numerous resources available today for learning these skills. Online platforms are excellent sources of information, and home improvement stores often offer classes and workshops where you can gain hands-on experience. Story 46. Everything that home economics was supposed to teach you but didn't. I went to college with people who were completely incapable of looking after themselves. They rarely cleaned up, barely knew how to cook, and could not make repairs on broken items. They were entirely helpless, and I felt like their parent half the time. You should learn the basics of maintaining a household, even if you live alone. Story 47. Not concerning oneself with how others live their lives, including their relationships, simply recognizing situations that do not involve you and leaving it at that, as long as no one is getting hurt, of course. Story 48. Only 19, but I know how to meal prep and cook in general. Many people waste money on fast food, complaining about being broke. Story 49. Before turning 30, many people say, I can't cook, but if you can read and follow instructions, then you can cook. This applies to many situations. People often default to, I can't, when in reality the issue is not reading instructions. To clarify, this is different from saying, I don't like to, which is a valid reason. Story 50. Basic car maintenance is essential. Most importantly, you should know how to change a tire to put a spare on. Additionally, changing your own oil and brakes is much simpler than you might realize, and it can save you a significant amount of money. Story 51. A surprising number of people I work with do not know how to use a dishwasher and, more importantly, lack the problem-solving skills to figure it out. I work in an office, and it is just a regular dishwasher like the ones you would have at home. I realize this is an issue more common in the United States. Story 52. How to actually drive well. Take a driving course. The number of young people I know who are completely unable to reverse their car without a backup camera is alarming. Story 53. I believe the modern equivalent of balancing a checkbook is an important skill to master, and I wonder how many young people actually keep track of their finances in that way. Story 54. Learn to trust and build a relationship with the concept of delayed gratification. Small, slow, but consistent incremental progress is how you move mountains. You will find that this discipline applies to all things in life that are worth having. Story 55. Learning how to disagree with another person without perceiving it as a slight against their entire life. Story 56. Maybe not a life skill, but going through therapy to understand yourself and separate that from your trauma is valuable. Therapists excel at teaching skills such as assertiveness, setting boundaries, and being less reactive. This process can enhance the world and bring you peace. The most important investment is in yourself. Story 57. What attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is and how it manifests. What chronic fatigue syndrome is and how it manifests. Why the notion that everyone can learn this is similar to the idea of pulling oneself up by the bootstraps. What narcissistic personality disorder, sociopathy, and psychopathy are, and why they are overrepresented in men and in leadership positions. How men and women are different. Story 58. Many of these answers seem typical for an 18-year-old, to be honest. I would expect a 30-year-old to be self-sufficient, except in cases of illness or disability. This means not relying on others for financial support or daily needs. While sharing responsibilities in a household or hiring help is acceptable, one should at least be capable of managing their basic needs. Story 59. Learning basic personal finances, how to manage our emotions, and understand safe and appropriate boundaries is essential. It is surprising that these vital skills are not taught in life. One aspect covers how to interact with others and recognize dangerous behaviors. The other focuses on the difference between working minimum hours at 35 years old and having a financial plan for retirement that ensures security and eliminates financial stress. This approach also includes supporting my spouse in achieving a similar position and observing colleagues who work excessive overtime just to make ends meet, often leading to stress and relationship issues. In summary, personal finances and boundaries are crucial. Story 60: How to balance accounts. I rarely write checks anymore, but I still use a checkbook register to keep track of my debit card transactions and compare the balance online. Story 61: Changing a tire. How to load and use a dishwasher. How to string words together for a social gathering. This means do not bury your head in your phone. Story 62: Critical thinking is the ability to analyze situations objectively and make informed decisions, which is crucial for navigating adult life. Story 63: Pay attention to your surroundings. This is in two parts. 1. I see everyone walking around with their heads down, looking at their phones, even while crossing the street. It's incredible. Lift your head up and look at the world. Stop blocking the walkway, grocery aisle, elevator, or any other space just because you're unaware of your surroundings. When I was a child, my parents would reprimand me anytime I was in someone else's way. I am constantly aware of my position and whether someone can pass by me. It's not complicated. It completely amazes me that people can be so unaware of the fact that they are inconveniencing everyone else around them. Story 64: How to cut string with your bare hands. It is useful and fun. Story 65: How to avoid taking something personally. I don't mean in a way of learning to take jokes or just accepting insults. Choose your battles, but don't allow yourself to be a non-confrontational doormat. Many people project their own interpretations when explaining or reacting to situations. One person might hear someone say, "I've been working all week. I'm exhausted," and think, "Oh man, they must have had a tough week. I know what that's like, and we could all use a break." While another might think, "Dude, it's work. Everyone has to do it, so why are you whining? You think I don't want to relax all week?" An important skill is recognizing that both of these statements reveal more about the individuals saying them than they do about you. If they were in your situation, they might think differently, but they are not you. Try to understand the kind of person you are dealing with, how they perceive situations, and why they think that way. This understanding will make it easier to interact with others. Story 66: How to be self-sufficient in most parts of life, especially at work. I work in a basic job that doesn't require any education, and the number of questions I receive from other adults who have worked there for over 15 years about basic matters is concerning. When you have held a job for that long, you should be able to determine what you need based on your own experiences. Story 67: The left lane is for passing. Slower traffic should keep to the right. Learn to read traffic signs and follow directions. Story 68: I believe everyone should have a basic understanding of how tools work before they turn 30. Additionally, it is important to know the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west before reaching that age. Story 69: Reading a lease. I am a community manager, and it's surprising to me how most people do not read the most common and impactful contract they will sign until they buy a house. I tell my residents that I will review their lease with them before they move out and have pointed out things that have genuinely made them change their minds. Story 70: Learn to plan thoroughly. If you are going somewhere, preparing a project for work, or hosting guests, you must be ready for all scenarios. Plan effectively. Story 71: Basics about long-term investing, retirement accounts, individual retirement accounts, treasury bills. A 63-year-old version of yourself will thank you when you accumulate financial security. Story 72: Have a good handshake. Even if you think it's unfair, people will judge you by your handshake. Use a full hand, interlocking at the thumbs, not just fingers. Keep it straight. Avoid bending at the knuckles. Maintain an upright position. Do not come in tilted as if trying to establish dominance. Your ego can survive a meeting of equals for a few seconds. Move in from the front, not downwards. Look at the person while shaking hands, not at the hands. Make it firm. Avoid being floppy or overly tight. Improvisation is not bad, but you need to master the basics first. Hold off on variations until you are confident in your grip. Story 73. Season your meat generously with salt and pepper. I have had many meat-flavored burgers and steaks at local restaurants and cookouts. Also, stop washing your chicken. Story 74. Grasping the concept that most of the world will not share your opinions or beliefs, and instead of being afraid or angered by that, learning to accept and respect those who are different from you is essential. We are all in this together, for better or worse. It only gets harder if you refuse to step outside of your personal bubble. Story 75. Living below your means. Many people I know are in debt and unhappy, feeling like there is no way out, yet they spend money on multiple streaming services, coffee shops, concerts, and dining out. Story 76. Two very important skills are critical thinking, which involves not believing everything you read, and financial literacy. Story 77. Managing expectations. Nothing in life will ever be perfect, but if you can accept that, it is easier to appreciate what you have. Just my opinion. Story 78. Meditation, which some may argue is not a life skill, has an effect on everything else you do in life. Story 79. How to take care of your living area, whether it's a room or a home. Keep your space clean and fix things when they break. Story 80. The number of people I encounter who cannot keep a house clean or cook a decent meal is disturbing. These are basic adult skills, yet I have met many individuals whose homes are cluttered and filled with garbage. They wonder why they have ants or roaches, and their fridge is stocked with frozen meals and pizza. To be honest, you are not an adult if you cannot manage these essential tasks. Story 81. Healthy habits and quitting unhealthy ones are essential. Getting your life organized is much harder as you age. Learn to say no to yourself and others as soon as possible. It is impossible to master anything if you cannot master yourself. Your will and self-control must be stronger than your desires and impulses. That being said, do not be afraid to say yes to the right things. Allow yourself to try and fail. Do not be too hard on yourself or on others. Most importantly, enjoy the journey, as the only destination is to die and cease to exist. Story 82. Learn simple arithmetic. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Congratulations! You can now 1. Create a budget. 2. Complete your taxes. 3. Understand fractions, perform simple home repairs, and bake. The only reason for not doing these tasks is a lack of mathematical knowledge. Everything else is just an excuse. Story 83. Home repairs. Calling a professional every time something needs to be repaired or upgraded can be very expensive. Story 84. When to know that a relationship or friendship is over and when to stop fighting for it. Many retiring people-pleasers often relate to extending situations for too long. Story 85. I have a friend in medical school who still can't swim. They save lives but can't even save their own. It's both ironic and poetic at the same time. Story 86. Time, money, and project management are essential skills that can help you avoid procrastination, accomplish tasks, and maximize your hard-earned money. Story 87. Definitely one of them should be how to cook. It can improve your surroundings significantly without you even noticing. I learned this myself. Story 88. Buying a new car that you cannot afford and taking on a car payment is a sure way to lose money and hinder your ability to invest and save. This highlights the importance of proper money management. Story 89. Yes, I instantly lose a significant amount of respect for any adult who cannot prepare a simple meal for themselves. Legitimately not having time or it not being worth it for your productivity is acceptable. But you should at least know how to feed yourself in a pinch. Saying, I don't even know how to crack an egg, is not impressive. Story 90. Self-reflection is important. I am only 20 years old, so I may not be very wise, but it is alarming how many people take themselves too seriously and believe they are the main character in everything. Story 91. Work out, create memories, and be kind. These may seem obvious, but it can be challenging to take them seriously without immediate feedback. Trust that it will pay off if you persevere. Story 92. How to accept no for an answer without conflict or offense, and without it becoming an invitation for scoring points arguing, or fighting to achieve personal goals. Sometimes, in any context, no simply means no. Story 93, Swimming. I don't know how to swim, and I am afraid of deep pools and lakes. I enrolled my kids in swimming school. Story 94, How to set boundaries without feeling guilty. Learning to say no nicely but firmly is a total game changer. It's not about being rude. It's about being clear. Story 95. If you receive some extra money, do not spend it on expensive cars, clothing, or flashy items. Save it, invest it, or pay off your existing debt. Wealthy individuals maintain their riches because they avoid wasting money on unnecessary things. Story 96. Being open to having someone change your mind about things can lead to positive outcomes. Good things come from embracing new ways of thinking, and you can become a better version of yourself. Story 97. Learn how to grow and enjoy using marijuana. It is a very pleasant hobby. Alcohol is harmful to health and freedom. Story 98. Money management is crucial. I know many people who have no understanding of it by the age of 50 and are significantly worse off because of it. Story 99. How to cook at least 3 meals from scratch. Not for health or money, just to know you can take care of yourself. Story 100. Cooking can seem challenging, leading some to spend excessive amounts of money on pre-packaged meals and dining out. However, if you're just starting out, try to be less selective. It's not difficult to heat a pan and wait for your food to warm up. Story 101. Not just taking things at face value and believing them without evidence. There are very few things you can accept as true in this world, and the sooner we all learn this, the better. Story 102. Apparently, while doing laundry, I moved into the freshman dorms and had to teach half the floor, both men and women, how to clean their clothes. It blew my mind. Story 103. Social skills are essential for connecting with people, as you never know whom you might encounter and the opportunities they may provide. I used to do door-to-door work. Before that, I was too shy to even ask a Walmart employee where the bathroom was. Now, I can engage in small talk with anyone without it feeling awkward. Story 104. How to cook. Cooking at home is much cheaper and healthier than eating out or ordering takeaways, and it can be very enjoyable. Start simply with stir-fries, pasta, poached eggs, baked potatoes, and chili. Then work your way up to curries and roast dinners. There are thousands of freely available recipes online. Look for something you like and give it a try. Story 105. How to swim, cook, manage money, and manage emotions. Knowing how to sew is an underrated skill. Bonus. I've never heard anyone regret learning how to play an instrument. Story 106. Become immune to advertising and consumer manipulation. Wanting causes internal stress, motivating people to engage in many negative behaviors. Thieves desire more luxuries than they possess, especially in developed countries. People waste their entire lives working to become the richest corpse in the graveyard. Wars stem from politicians desiring more than they have. Scammers, corruption, environmental damage, overfarming of land and sea, pollution, and a decline in moral and ethical standards. All of these issues arise from discontent with what we possess. I truly believe that minimalism can address many of the world's problems. It has resolved most of my issues, allowing me to enjoy life like I did as a child, working only 3 weeks per year to fulfill my needs and wants. It has also improved my physical and mental health, despite the lasting damage from decades of unfulfilling work. Minimalism is not about being happy with nothing. It involves continuously evaluating what you own, identifying unnecessary items, and diminishing the desire to acquire more. Now, every advertisement I encounter makes me think, that item is worthless, and I don't want it. Story 107. How to fake confidence in awkward situations. 90% of life is just pretending you know what you are doing while internally screaming. Story 108. Learn to speak another language. Not fluently, perhaps, but enough for basic conversation. It is good for your brain, and you gain a better perspective when engaging with the culture. Story 109. How to deal with your emotions. Do not avoid them, project them, replace or mask them. Bottle them up, explode, or feel shame about them. Instead, face, feel, and process them in a healthy manner for yourself and those around you. Much of how life turns out is influenced by our internal battles. Story 110. Information literacy is the ability to determine whether the information you read is trustworthy and reliable. If everyone possessed this skill, the world would likely be a better place. Story 111. How to properly satisfy a woman also means understanding how to satisfy yourself, especially for straight women. A woman's capacity for pleasure is significantly greater than what a man could ever hope to experience, which can offset the impact of patriarchy. So, take the initiative regardless of gender. Read a book, take a class, or do whatever it takes to become an expert in female pleasure and help your partners reach heights they never thought possible. They deserve it. Story 112. If patience counts, then that is it. I have been trying to conceive for quite some time, and I can only be patient and accept that things will happen when the time is right. Story 113. Sewing is a useful skill. People should at least know how to fix a button, provided they have the physical ability to do so. Story 114. Financial literacy encompasses everything from accounts and awareness to taxes and compound interest. Understand debt and how to leverage it for maximum gains, including tips for improving your credit score. Master these concepts by age 25 to attain success. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.